Okay, here we go. We have this Xeno react. I said I was gonna react to this last week.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story, man. I was leveling Dark Knight. Now, I redacted this just because I don't want any ass hurt person to say that I'm like flaming them or whatever. So I'm just going to tell you the story. So I'm leveling Dark Knight. I don't even have the chat open. I'm just chilling in Discord and I'm just running through the dungeon, right? Like we just do a pull. I die like 3 times, man. I'm not even kidding. On the first pull, dead. Second pull, dead. Third pull, dead. I'm not even kidding. And I don't say anything. Okay, I don't say anything in the entire dungeon. But in Discord, I'm like, man, this... In Discord, I'm a little mad.
Don't read it too closely.
I'm annoyed,
not.
right? So then we get to the final boss, and I just go. You know what I mean? I just go. And of course, someone is in the cutscene, okay? Now, I'm going to say this right now. If you are wanting to watch the cutscene in a dungeon, then you need to do the trust. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. If you go in with other people, they do...
Yeah, bad take. That's a very common Final Fantasy courtesy. We all do that. Zeems knows it. Zeems knows it. I'm sure by now he might have thought about this a little bit more, but yeah, this is like super, super common. Everyone does that. Even in alliance raids, people do that shit. So if you can't have the courtesy with 3 people, other people, to let them watch a cutscene, it's like, come on.
Do not have to adhere to your bullshit, okay?
Yeah, I get the attitude that Zeems has, because I feel this way about hunt trains. I feel this way about hunt trains, or hunts in general. Like, if you're out in the map and you come across a hunt, like, you know, it's not like a requirement that you can't kill that hunt. But I think what I say about it is more nuanced, because what I say is that there's a difference between someone like being frustrated that you killed a hunt that maybe could have been part of a hunt train, and then there's a difference to take it the next step and like berate that person, or like really be a jerk to that person because they did that thing. So I don't know. It's a weird thing, because it is like I said, it's a courtesy. It's not a requirement, but I think it's just about how you come across, like when you're saying, like how you're addressing that, you know? And the way that Zeems is addressing it is rather aggressive. I get it. I mean, I'm that way a lot of the time too, so I totally get it. But yeah, this is a little, I don't know. I feel like it's similar, but it's still different than the hunt thing. Because, I don't know. They're just, one is story and one is not, you know? Like, hunts aren't story. Hunts aren't story. You're not, like, screwing someone out of anything by doing that. Plus, let's be honest, dungeons are piss easy anyway, generally, unless you're dying in the first packs like him, apparently, but dungeons are pretty piss easy, so it's not a big deal if it, like, takes 2 extra minutes. If it's someone's first time through a dungeon, like, come on. Let a person enjoy it.
That is why they put the trust in the game. So if you want to watch the story and take your time, then you can go with the fucking trust.
Oh, geez, his chat's lighting him up.
That is why they put the trust in the game. So if you want to watch
fuck off, L-take. Damn.
Story and take your time, then you...
Jesus Christ, no. Boo. Nah, bro, wrong. Nah, L-take. Yo, holy shit. Holy shit.
You can go with the fucking trust. Okay? Don't fucking queue in and expect people to just adhere to you. That's stupid.
Don't think too much of it. It's just his chat culture. No one's talking seriously. No, I think they're being serious when they say L-take. At least some of them. It is an L-take. It is, bro. It is an L-take. Yeah, I know it's chat culture. I get it. But it's also part of their culture to tell me he has an L-take, right?
Gonna go, bro. They put the trust in the game specifically for that reason. Anyway.
L-take, dumbass. People are so mean.
So of course, someone's in the cutscene, and I don't notice, right? Because I'm on.
Wait, what did he say? I gotta listen to Zeems.
Watch the story. You go in with other people. They do not have to adhere to your bullshit. Okay, that is why they put the trust in the game. So if you want to watch the story,
technically true. I mean, they don't have to. But
and take your time, then you can go with the fucking trust, okay? Don't fucking queue in and expect people to just adhere to you. That's stupid. I'm just gonna go, bro. They put the...
Well, to be fair, like, I don't know about other people. I was obviously pretty privileged because I'm a streamer. But like when I was playing through the game, people were very courteous to me. Extremely courteous. Like the entire Alliance raid would wait for one person.
Trust in the game specifically for that reason. Anyway,
I don't think that's true. I think they put trust in the game also so you can just queue individually and don't have to wait on a group. And so you can have the interactions of those characters in the dungeon with you.
So of course, someone's in the cutscene, and I don't notice, right? Because I'm on autopilot. I'm on farm mode. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so I pull, and the guy's
Exactly,
like,
Black Magic.
"Bruh, you serious? Your healer and other DPS were in the cutscene." Now I don't actually care if I die. Like if I pull and they're in the cutscene and I die, then that's on me. But then
That's
they
good.
were like,
Good to admit that.
"Die on your own." So I was like, and keep in mind, I'm not looking at the chat, okay? All right. And then this guy's like, "I ain't doing shit. I am not helping in any way because of your attitude."
Yeah, like I get the frustration when it comes to that stuff, but at the end of the day, bro, just finish the dungeon. Just in my opinion, just like try to get it over with, and like that way you don't have to play with whoever's bothering you anymore, you know? I think the best solution when this is happening is to just kind of just suck it up and kind of just push through yonder. And if you want to come back and do it again and get the full experience of the cutscenes, I feel like you can do that, you know? But like initially Zeem's take, obviously I don't agree with, but I also don't agree when people are just like, "Oh, we're just like not going to do anything now anymore." It's like, come on, man. Let's just do the dungeon, you know?
Haven't said anything the entire fucking time. And then the guy's like, "No, I'm not participating because of you," because I do a ready check, right? And then the guy's like, "You legit ran in without the healer." And at this point is when I check the chat. I'm like, what the fuck? Like when I see the ready checks only 3 out of 4 or whatever, I'm like, what the fuck? So then I check it and I'm like, what is going on? They vote to abandon. Okay, we're at the last boss, by the way. And they're like, "Abandon duty. We will do this with new, more cooperative people."
Yeah, come on. Like, what are we doing now? Like, what are we doing? Like, if you're at the last boss, just kill the last boss, and then if there's a cutscene after, you'll be able to stay in the cutscene and watch it, and then that tank will just, like, leave, you know? Like, I feel like, you know, just finish it, like, and get the experience that you're also there for. Like, some people, it seems like they're so intent on, like, snuffing out the toxicity of another person that they themselves do something really toxic. Like, it's like, come on, just finish it. Like, I get it's frustrating to have a tank who's not really paying attention or, like, not considering the cutscenes and stuff, but if you're on the last boss, like, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Like, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Because then now you've done all that work, too. You've gone through this frustration, and now you're going to just give up and just do it again? I don't know, it seems silly to me. It would have been funnier to kick the problem player and finish without them. Abandoning is the most wild option. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. And so obviously that's what Zeems is laughing at. He's like, this is unhinged. Like, why are they abandoning? But yeah.
We're at the last boss. They didn't kick me. No, that's the thing. They didn't kick me. If they were to just kick, like, here's the thing. Whenever I go into like a pug or anything like that, just expect the worst. If as a group, they were like, "No, fuck this guy. We want to watch the cutscene," then that's 3 against 1. Then I just have to get kicked. That's it. Like I'm not going to hold it personal or anything, right? But I didn't say anything. I didn't say a single thing this entire dungeon.
That is interesting as well, that he didn't, it's not like he was being like inflammatory with his responses. Like he didn't say anything really. And maybe that was the mistake, you know? Maybe if he just, you know, said like, "Hey, you know, my bad. Let's just finish this up," maybe it would have been all good. But it is weird that people go like so unhinged at someone who's like not actually saying anything to them.
I wasn't even looking at the chat. Like I didn't even have my chat up throughout the entire dungeon until I saw the vote abandon or whatever. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? So I saw the vote abandon. Then I did a ready check. I'm like, what? So then I check it. And then like the healer's like, "No, I'm not going to pull." And I was so annoyed. And you know why I was annoyed? Okay, let me tell you why I was annoyed. I was not annoyed at this healer. I want to be perfectly clear. I was not annoyed at this healer. I was not annoyed at the party. They didn't do anything. I mean, they were, okay, how do I want to word it? They were just cunty.
I remember having a tank on an ego trip, refusing to use AoE abilities, turning on RP walk whenever someone used sprint or peloton, not picking up mobs when he lost thread, etc., calling DPS was like me passengers. Honestly, if someone's gonna be that, that's like very douchebag behavior. That's like that's a douchebag. Honestly, what you dealt with, that's far different than what Zeems did here. You know, that guy was just being a very clear douchebag. So, yeah, that's much different. And that's pathetic. Someone like that is so ego tripping. They're lucky that playing tank is literally fucking brain dead most of the time. No offense, Zeems, but you know, playing tank is pretty brain dead most of the time. So I guess they're lucky that their class has 4, you know, active buttons and never dies. You know, it's just like, come on, that sounds like a douchey person. So yeah, if they think they're that good, fuck it, let them solo the dungeon. Fuck them. Not on Dark Knight. I've played Dark Knight, bro. I know how it plays. Dark Knight's a DPS in disguise. DRK is rough. Yeah, I don't care if DRK is rough. DRK also used to do as much damage as almost as a DPS, it felt like. So
if it's 3 versus 1, then that's fine.
And then just complain about Dark Knight until they fix it. That's what you do.
Me or, you know, whatever. That's fine. You know, I'll just queue up again. You know,
that's what you should do.
What I was
play something better and then complain about the one that's not good and they'll fix it. Hopefully.
About was how fucking much Dark Knight sucks ass in dungeons, dude.
Yo, and like a fucking timed queue, bro. Like on cue, bro. Holy shit, that's funny. But so play something else. I'm just gonna say it. Play something else.
Dark Knight is
oh, he was leveling it? Ah, fuck. Yeah, you're stuck in that situation, aren't you? Because there's nothing you can do about that. If you're leveling it, then you just have to roll with it. That's tough. Okay, then I take that back. Not much you can do about that. Not much you can do about that.
Of the fucking barrel. It is so trash.
That sucks.
Its damage is not any higher, and it just fucking dies to everything, man.
It's a dungeon issue specifically. So let me hear what he has to say about this, because I know that Zeems is a really good tank and that he primarily plays tank, so I want to hear what he has to say about Dark Knight.
Is at the bottom of the fucking barrel. It is so trash. Like, its damage is not any higher, and it just fucking dies to everything, man.
That sucks.
If the healer dies...
If it's more... Look, Dark Knight, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like Dark Knight, at least in my time playing the game, is a glass... has been more of a glass cannon. Where, like... It's extremely offensive and like can do a good amount of damage, except right now, apparently. But it takes fucking damage. Like, and I feel like WoW has tanks like that too, that are more like take damage, but also hit way fucking harder. Risk versus reward, right? So if you, in this case, it's not good because Dark Knight's not doing enough damage. So it's not, it doesn't justify its fragility, right? So in this case, it's like, it's not good. But if Dark Knight did more damage, not as much as a DPS, but more damage, you know, it would be more acceptable for it to be squishier. But when something does bad damage and also is squishy, it's like, why the fuck do I want to play it? Why would I want to play that? Right? So that's the issue, is that, and that's what Zeem said. He said it doesn't do any more damage, but it's just dies to everything. So that's exactly what he's pointing out. Like, I'm fucking squishy and I don't do a lot of damage as a result of it. So the way that I'm interpreting this is what Zeems would maybe be okay with out of a Dark Knight would be more glass cannony, right? But it's armor, it's not leather. So what? This is a fantasy game, bro. This isn't real life. There are tanks in World of Warcraft that wear leather that are just as tanky as ones that wear plate. Like, that's not really that relevant. This isn't real life.
So trash. Like, it just fucking dies to everything, man. If the healer dies, you die. Even in a dungeon, Dark Knight should not be that bad. Every other tank can solo every boss in a dungeon, but can Dark Knight? Absolutely not. Dark Knight just sits there and gets fucked up because it sucks. While these players were like petty, I wasn't actually mad at them. I was pissed because Dark Knight sucks so much. What happened? We ended up with vote abandoned.
Zeems is like, I should have just been able to fucking kill that boss by myself. That's why I'm fucking mad. I'm not even mad about these people who told me to get out the group. No. I'm fucking mad because my class sucks.
We're at the last boss. Instead of just killing the boss, they wanted to vote abandoned. And I'm just like, bruh, Keep in mind, I didn't say anything the entire dungeon. No. They were not fine. No. I don't have to let people watch the cutscene. No. I absolutely do not. If you want to do that, then you do the trusts. End of discussion. That's a full stop. Whenever you...
Well, I think that, like, at the end of the day, Zeems has no control over whether or not someone watches the cutscene. And I think that's one of the kind of the hard truths of this situation is that if he pulls the boss, they're still watching the cutscene. And as far as I'm aware, all the cutscenes happen outside of the purple boss barriers typically. So, like, you're not going to be in the fight immediately. You're not going to die. You know what I mean? It's not like your character's going to die because the tank pulled the boss. Right? So in this way, like, Zeems literally cannot stop them from watching the cutscene. What he really is interrupting is the flow of the dungeon post-cutscene. But honestly, like, I feel like that's less important. It's like less of a big deal. Like, I get the frustration, and I don't agree with his take that, like, fuck people who watch cutscenes or whatever. That's not really what he said, but, you know. But at the end of the day, what is he really actually in control of? Well, he's not really in control of whether or not they can watch the cutscene, because no matter what, they're going to watch it. So it's really like he pulled the boss, right? And if the gate closes, you get teleported in. It's just toxic to start the fight while they watch it, and I get the frustration in chat for him doing so and dying solo. I'm not arguing any of that. But what Zeems is trying to say, and he's not objectively wrong when he says it, is that, like, as an MMO player, he's not beholden to the expectations of other players. Is that going to make other players think he's a dick? Yes. Yes, it is. But there is no official requirement for this, right? And I think that's the mind that he has here is like, yeah, like, there's like, we're here to do this, blah, blah, blah. Right. We talked about courtesy, and that courtesy is a benefit, right? It's going to be a benefit generally to you and to the people around you. So, you know, typically that's the route that we would be going. But yeah, at the end of the day, like, no one can force you out of a cutscene, right? It's fine as long as you own the fact that you're being a dick, I suppose. Well, I think another part of that is that he said that he didn't even see any of these messages until after a couple of ready checks where they're like, this ready check where someone's like not ready, and then he looks at chat, and now he's seeing it. So the issue, I feel like one of the issues here is that, like, there's a communication gap. Like, he literally couldn't see that they were frustrated at him earlier, right? So I just think like there's, you know, by the time that we got here, they're already kind of at that boiling point, you know? And for some people, when you're trying to call someone out for being a doofus and then they don't respond to you, some people get aggravated by that. Like, oh, this fucking guy just ignoring us. You know, he's not even going to say anything, you know? And so that probably irritated them. So, you know, I'm definitely not saying that Zeems is in the right. We started the video by saying that I don't agree with it. It's a terrible take about the cutscene watchers and stuff like that. But what I'm trying to do is I think anyway, identify and explain the maybe more pragmatic mindset that he's going at it with. Maybe it's not that pragmatic, but I don't know. Like, just from the stance of, like, what is required, what is me pulling interrupt exactly, what is the result of all of that? And I think that that's why he thinks it's rather amusing, because it's just the whole thing seems silly, you know? So
you play with other people, you have to expect that they are not going to play the way you want to play. No. You can take me all fucking day, man.
Let me hear this again.
I didn't say anything the entire dungeon. No. They were not fine. No. I don't have to let people watch the cutscene. No. I absolutely do not. If you...
Again, I think... I'm not trying to intentionally, like, obscure or move the goalposts here. What Zeems is saying is in bad taste, okay? And like I said, it's about what is genuinely in your control. Can Zeems do anything that forces those people out of that cutscene? No. So at the end of the day, he's saying, do I have to let them watch it? It's not really like that. That's not really how this works. What he's saying is let them watch it before pulling the boss. What I'm trying to say is that he has no control over whether they watch it or not, regardless of whether or not he thinks so. But what he's arguing is, should I have let them watch it before pulling the boss? And the attitude that he presents about that is obviously in bad taste. So
You want to do that, then you do the trust. End of discussion. That's a full stop. Whenever you play with other people, you have to expect that they are not going to play the way you want to play.
yeah, I can't necessarily agree with that, because the culture, I think, in Final Fantasy is very much in support of that behavior, right? And again, I think that there is a very stark difference between queuing into a closed instanced event with people and something like hunt trains, okay? Because like I said, some people get butthurt at you for being in the open world and killing a hunt. But if you're a new player and you don't really even know about hunt trains, then that's the thing, is that like one of these things, like my example is much more likely to be an unknown factor for a new player. Whereas like it is extremely common in dungeons and groups and stuff like that, because like to do that kind of thing. And inversely, Zeems has to recognize that in saying that I don't have to wait for them, you should be playing this way, blah, blah, blah. He's kind of trying to impart his philosophy of how you should do dungeons and content on those people, right? So you have to realize that when you act this way, you're now the squeaky wheel, right? If you have 3 people in the group that want to do that, and then you're the only one who doesn't, who's the squeaky wheel? You know, it's you, you know, and at that point, it's like, maybe you should consider being courteous to the other 3 people in the group that are there, and you are only running the dungeon because they are also there, and allow them the opportunity, especially through their first time, to experience those cutscenes. Okay, so that's kind of, you know.
No. You can take me all fucking day, man. But if I'm in a dungeon with you, I am going full speed all the way. Fuck your cutscene, man. Okay? If you want to watch the cutscene, you do the trust. No, it's not rude. It's rude for you to expect me to want to watch the cutscene.
Well, it goes both ways. It goes both ways. So some would say it's rude to deny someone's ability to watch the cutscene. Okay, so it's very trust me. I'm the guy that I get it. You know, when you are resolute in the way that you want to play, and you're doing that, like I get it. I really do. But yeah. I'm also of the opinion. Look, I'm just gonna say this. Zeems is a pretty popular guy. Right? Don't tell me this guy couldn't get 3 absolute shooters that would murk dungeons with him. That's the other thing. When you're in a position like he or I, where we can just get 3 shooters who are just fucking ready, what's the point of even random queuing? Just fucking get some people that watch your stream and go fucking murk a dungeon, you know? If you want to speed run, fucking set up a group and go hard, you know? That's kind of my take on it. Like if I'm wanting to go slow and chill, I'll random queue. If I'm trying to burn it, I'm putting a team together. That's what I'm doing. And that's an aside, you know, but we have that opportunity. We should just fucking put together a group of absolute bangers and just fucking send it. You know, that's how I feel.
It would be different if there weren't trust in the game.
I don't like that. I think he's relying a little bit too much on trusts for this argument. I don't think that's the purpose of trusts. The trusts aren't, I don't perceive that the trusts are there so that you can watch cutscenes. I think the trusts are there so that way, if at any point, even if you're a DPS, you don't have to wait on a queue. And we all know that when you get trusts in your group, sometimes they have little quips back and forth. Or they'll have like dialogue in the dungeon that you can like, you're like, oh, that's kind of a neat little piece of flavor or whatever. That's what trusts are for to me, right? Regardless of how old, and also this, remember, trusts are available for old content too. So like if you wanted to run like, I don't know if they're available for this, but like hard mode, like, I don't even know if this is a thing. I'm just making shit up. Hard mode, Wanderer's Palace. I think that is a thing. Or Lighthouse or whatever. And no one's queuing that because it's kind of an abstract thing to do. Oh, it's for only MSQ content. Okay, so not hard mode. So no hard modes, okay? But you're in like an earlier game, or like maybe you're in like an early Stormblood or like late Stormblood dungeon, DPS queue, and the queue's taking forever, and you're like, fuck this, bro. I'm just gonna queue a truss, good to go, you know? I feel like that mentality can be the same for like forming a power group, right? Yo, I want to bash some fucking dungeons. I'm gonna put a group together, we're just gonna smoke them, you know? It's like there's three different things here. You have trust, which are completely solo, unengaged. You have the middle ground, random queue, and then you have pre-made groups, which, frankly, it sounds like that's what Zeem should do. He should just put together pre-made groups that just fucking smack dungeons, because that's what he enjoys about this game. So he would probably, A, run into less frustration, and probably not have to worry about hurting the feelings of or disrupting the play of somebody else, because he has an additional advantage to get people in his group that an average person wouldn't have. So I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from this, is that, like, if you have the opportunity to put together a sick group, you should just do that. Cheermancy, thank you very much for the tier 3 sub. That's very generous of you. For 3 fucking years. Can you believe it's been that long? By the token of, you can't force people not to watch CS, you also can't force people to wait for CS. No more than I can force people to use their AoE rotation. Yes, Black Magic, and technically we can't force laws upon people, and that's why we vote on majority, okay? So if you have 3 out of 4 people in the group wanting to watch cutscenes and you're the only one that's not, maybe you should read the room. Because 75% of the people want to do it. Only 25% don't. You know what I'm saying? That's literally how we decide on like morality and laws and stuff, is like majority agreement generally. Like, there's all these options. What one do we most align with? And if 75% of people are aligning with one, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're right, but it generally means that, like, if you're in a situation that doesn't have to be antagonistic or tense, then don't make it tense and just maybe conform for 15 minutes of your life, you know?
There were trust.
Or just put together a pre-made group and fucking burn dungeons. It's kind of silly to join a random queue and then expect people to not want to watch cutscenes. And then when, like I said, when you have the ability to go and put together a group, if you want to play burning through dungeons, do what you can to make sure that that is what happens. If you don't want to wait for cutscenes, don't queue with randoms that may want to watch the cutscenes. Because at the end of the day, one thing is content and is part of the game, and the other one is not. One of them is literally watching story cutscene unfold. The other one is, I want to pull this boss that I've already killed. You know what I'm saying? One of them is experiential and more meaningful. The other one is impatient.
In the game, then it would be more of like a courtesy type of thing. Okay? Dude, I don't give a fuck if it's day 1, man. You know what I do? Whenever I want to just go through the story,
True, Mazin.
I use the trust. You are not going to convince me that I have to let people watch the cutscene. Absolutely not. If you want to watch the cutscene, do the trust. That's it.
And that's, you know, you don't have to let people watch the cutscene, but then you also can't be surprised when you find out that they're upset with you for not letting them watch the cutscene. You know what I'm saying? You can't be that guy who's like, I'm going to go against the grain, but then be mad at you when you don't approve of that type of behavior. You know what I'm saying? It's very much, yeah, it's just not a good place to be.
Full stop on that shit. Whenever you play with other people, you have to expect that people are not going to play your way. Just like me, if we got to the end of the dungeon and they wanted to kick me because I just went in, then I have to accept that. That's fine. Like, I'm not going to personally be upset at them. But at the same time,
soundboard?
I'm not going to just sit there and wait. If you want to do that shit, then you do the trust. That's why the trusts are in the game, man. If you want a single player experience, then you do the trust. That's it. That's in the discussion. You may not.
But the cutscenes are not unique to a single player experience. Dungeons are generally queued together. The game is in that you engage in multiplayer activities for trials and for dungeons. You don't get to just then say, like, if you want the single player experience, do trust. Like, wait, no, because this game at the end of the day, it's not really a single player experience. Like a lot of the MSQ is, sure, but that's not what the whole game is, you know. And like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem. I'm saying both parties are showing toxicity to clarify. Oh, that's without question. This type of shit here where they're like gonna abandon the duty is dumb. That's dumb.
I like that, but that's how it is. I understand my argument applies to me. That is literally why I said that if I just go, I'm not going to get upset if they want to kick me. Like, are you guys not listening to me?
Because again, I think kicking someone out is different than just full on abandoning a duty. It's a very weird decision to go there. It's just such a weird thing to do. It's like, kick him out. The fuck? Don't abandon the duty. And I think that's more his focus is like, what the fuck? Like, why would you abandon duty? It's such a weird thing. That's what I get hung up on with like the other side is like, what are you doing? Like I'm just like, what? That's such a waste of your own time to get kicked at that point. Like, why die on that hill? I kind of feel that way too. It's kind of like an all or nothing kind of thing of like, but then again, so is abandoning the duty. It goes both ways, right? Like, why would you go all that way to the end and then just abandon duty? It's just kind of silly.
Some of you are just so close-minded and such pussy mentality, man. No, let them watch the cutscene. No, everyone deserves to watch the cutscene. Dude, they literally put a system in the game to where if you want to do that on your own, you can.
So what if you want to queue with like 3 friends? What if the tank, or what if the healer and the DPS were all 3 friends? And then you're the only one who's not. You know? What about then? Because what if you don't want to do the trust because you'd rather play with like your 3 friends or your 2 friends or whatever? That's why I'm saying this is just a lose-lose situation. That's why it's worth talking about. You guys realize that if this was just simply and easily cut and dry, and then if the people in the dungeon hadn't acted pettily towards the end, that there wouldn't even be a discussion, right? Like, there's only even discourse here because there is the other side where, like, what are these people doing? Like, come on. That's kind of a goofy decision to make as well. Especially considering Zeems wasn't being inflammatory in the chat. You know what I mean? It's silly. His take doesn't really align with what he did anyway. After dying to the boss, he does a ready check to be courteous, never complains in the chat. And that's the thing, right? He ready checks. You know, I see those things. You know, I see that. But that is also after the abandoned duty motion. You've commenced a ready check. Oh no, then it's a minute, like a second later. Motion to abandon duty rejected. Ready check complete. So, I don't know.
I'll use the trust even if I'm just blasting.
Overall, I get what Xeno's arguing for, but it lacks a bit of nuance. Yeah.
Because the trust are better than some players. If you want to do a single player experience and you do that, that's literally why.
That's what I'm saying. My boyfriend and I are watching it, and we want to experience it with players, not bots. Same. That's why I do the trials with my friends and with my mods, who are often, you know, my friends as well. Because, you know, I want that experience with them. It's funny because it almost sounds like Zeems would benefit from doing the trust. I'm sorry, I had to say it, dude. I had to say it. Why don't Zeems just go play the trust?
Sometimes I'll use the trust even if I'm just blasting. Because the trust are better than some players.
Yeah, but... yeah, so then use the trust. Oh, it's a roulette, though. Because with trust, don't you have to queue for a specific dungeon? Yeah, that's the dilemma. If he's roulette queuing for bonus XP, he can't use trusts. So at that point, you should just put together a 4-man group. And you should just queue with people that you know are going to blast. You know? And that people that you know aren't going to give a shit about the cutscene. Why wouldn't you? The dungeon's going to go faster anyway. Like, you guys know that, right? Like, the dungeon will go faster. Like, it would be a better experience.
If you want to do a single player experience and you do that, that's literally why it's there. You guys can agree with me or not agree with me. It doesn't matter because it's fact.
That's literally rarely true. Like, I love you, Kryl, but your DPS in that first dungeon was abysmal. Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest that the argument that but you miss lore if you don't do trust, the lore you mentioned is literally just Alphino saying, wow, that's a weird squirrel. Like, okay, dude, let me play with other people and quit making excuses to stick me in trusts. Yeah, the lore quips and stuff, like, you're not really getting anything out of it. That's why I don't do dungeons and stuff with trust for the first time. I did that a couple times in Endwalker and it was miserable. Let's just say the system's not perfect for both types of players. Well, I think the system has the flexibility to be perfect for both types of players. If you don't want to wait for people doing cutscenes, make a pre-made group and blast dungeons. It's really not that complicated. Like, this really isn't that complicated. Like, the system that exists can support everybody. Like I said, trusts and solo play, mixed queuing, where you should probably respect the option to watch cutscenes for randoms that you're in the group with, because without them, you cannot be doing that fucking dungeon. And lastly, the third, which is a pre-made group.
Literally said this too. If you want a single player experience, do the fucking trust. My point is do not expect everything to go your way unless you use the trust. Here's the thing. People go in with the wrong expectation.
Well, and Kvasir is saying something very similar to you, Maz and Jaz. Kvasir said, complaining about people watching cutscenes, couldn't even imagine that's a thing. I'm a sprout halfway through Heaven's Ward, watched all the cutscenes, and it never was a problem. And then additionally, Maz and Jaz adds, says, honestly, what gets me is that boss cutscenes are, for the most part, pretty short. That's exactly. And that's what some of the people in the chat were saying is like, Zeems, you only got to wait 30 more seconds. Like, come on, dude. It's kind of like that person in traffic where like you're on a 2-lane and you're on the right hand to make a right hand turn, or you're going to go straight or something. And the guy behind you wants to make that right hand turn so fucking bad that he's willing to squeeze into the bike lane where he should not be and pull around just so he can save 10 seconds, because typically the light turns green right after they do that. And it's like, what are you doing? You're potentially risking someone else. This is much more extreme. This is not accurate to the game, but like, you're being an inconvenience for your own little bit of time you saved. And then you're going to, what are you going to turn around and blame other people because they call you out for it? Like, I don't know. It's kind of a weird place to be. Honestly, what we see here from the chat, they just overreacted. If they accidentally pulled the last boss there, they could have just let him die. He would have realized someone's watching the cutscene and they did it as 4 together. Done. Exactly, Ragnara. Both parties are in the wrong here, for sure. Because again, like, what the fuck are we doing? You're on the last boss. You've watched the cutscene. Just kill the fucking boss. You know? Don't abandon the duty. What the fuck are you doing? Just finish the fucking fight and go on about your day. And so while Zeems is being, Zeems, on the other hand, what the fuck is this petty shit from this? Like, come on, dude. Like, what kind of fucking... That's a very weirdo kind of like, what do you... Like, I just don't get the abandoned duty thing. It's very weird, dude.
Man. Whenever we do the story on stream, I don't even entertain the idea of going in with random people. Because if I'm going to do the story on stream, I'm going to obviously watch all the cutscenes in a dungeon. Right. So I'm going to use the trust.
I don't know because I don't watch his stream. When he first is going through DT dungeons, is he using the trust? On his, like, through his MSQ playthrough? Did he use trust? No, with friends? He's with his trusts or friends. He skipped through with his friends. I mean, it kind of sounds like he's making an argument for something that he doesn't even do anyway. It's like, if I was going to do it, but you don't, though. It's convenient that you say that you can just use trust, but if you're not doing... So he goes back later for story time. Okay. And then maybe there he would use trusts. He has said he has an alt he watched the story on because people don't watch him for the story. Okay. That's valid. Yeah, I have nothing to argue about that.
Only way that
he went back
with
Endwalker. Okay.
Trust
I was just curious.
You guys go with me, but you guys already know. Like, it's like basically it's a shared mentality going in that I'm gonna watch all the cutscenes. And honestly, if you guys just pull the fucking boss, I don't give a shit. I'm not gonna care. I don't care. Just get the fucking dungeon over with. But
yeah, and it's good because we can individually have like views and opinions like that, but like not everyone feels that way, you know? If he's a blaster streamer, why not get a blaster group from chat and actually blast? That's kind of my argument. Is like, look, it's different for Zeems and I because we have basically a huge pool of players that can blast at any point, and we can fully leverage that at any point. And like, Some of these arguments I think would be better made from the perspective of someone who didn't have that advantage, but to ignore the context of the advantage that those of us have is disingenuous as fuck, in my opinion. And I'm not saying that about Zeems, I'm just saying that about the discussion in general. That, like, we have an advantage. We do. If we can't recognize that we have that advantage to play exactly how we want, whenever we want, then we're kind of being a little blind. You know? We're kind of being a little blind, in my opinion.
I typically will use the trust because it creates a better atmosphere for the story, right? Because you're using characters that are in the story. So if I'm gonna watch all the story, then I want to use the trust. Like, I like the trust. So it never even enters my mind that
I know what you meant,
I
Jeremy.
want to watch the cutscenes. I better queue up. Who the fuck does that? I want to watch the cutscenes, so let me queue up with random idiots? What is wrong with you guys?
I guess part of the logic there is that people probably don't sit there and consciously acknowledge that they want to watch the cutscenes. I think that, look, this is a very similar thing to add-ons, okay? Where when you join a game and everyone around you, not everyone, but 90% of the people around you are encouraging and replicating and exhibiting a certain kind of behavior, you're more likely to do it. Crowd mentality is a very real thing. And so in this way, like, if your general experience through all of your random queue dungeons is that people wait for cutscenes and then you come across someone who's skipping, who is the one who is acting maybe more out of the typical norm? It's you. You know? It's you. And so in the same way, like with add-ons, you know, add-ons are technically against the rules. Similar, you know, this is like not to make it about me or take it out of context, but I used a bunch of add-ons, obviously, when I first started, G-Shade, other stuff. I was like messing around with plugins. And then as soon as plugins were made not available or not allowed, and people were getting mass reported, all these people came out of the woodwork to be like, well, you fucking should have known that they were against the fucking rules. They were against the rules the whole time. And it's like, okay, that's fair, but are you just conveniently forgetting about all of this time and all of these people and how the entire community literally gives this vibe and this, like, how many times did people tell me, oh, they're technically not against the rule, or they're technically against the rules, but kind of don't ask, don't tell kind of thing. Like, don't really show it off and it won't be a problem. It was very common, right? So all I'm trying to say is that when the majority of people are exhibiting what is considered to be an acceptable social behavior, it is normal to expect that is generally what you will run into when you play the game. So I think what Zeems says here about random queuing and like what I'm saying is that you shouldn't. Most of us probably, especially as new players, are not consciously acknowledging that I'm gonna queue so that I can watch the cutscenes. Like, that's not how that works. We're queuing because that's how we know to play the game. And typically when we queue, people are waiting for cutscenes. Full stop. That's just it. So when you have that type of mentality all around you, you kind of develop, you know, a sense of like, okay, this is generally how people do it. And I think it's naive and a little dishonest to like try to pretend like that's not true. So that's just my opinion.
Normal people? No. Let me ask you.
And let me make this very clear. Zeems and I are both very far from normal players. I'm on one end of the extreme. Zeems is on the other. Okay? I'm on one of the extreme where I'm like, do not pull that fucking boss. Do not pull that fucking boss until the cutscene's over. But guess what I do? I queue with 3 people that I know. The same way that if Zeems wants to be a pumper, he should queue with 3 people that he knows. Period. Also, the 3 people in this group are fucking cringe and should have just finished the dungeon instead of baby raging and abandoning or attempting to, because that's fucking lame.
You guys a question. Why don't you use the trust? You guys are severely over-exaggerating how slow trusts are. Like, I feel like there's this huge misconception where the trust you take like an hour, and that's not even true. And also, dude, the trust rarely fucking wipe. Like,
True.
Rarely.
They have like perfect movement typically.
Some of you in chat are severely over-exaggerating how bad the trusts are. The trusts are better than some players. I'm not even kidding. Like, that's sad to hear, but it's true.
Lust is a pretty common term.
If you go in a pug, you have to expect that things are not going to go your way. Just like with this example, right? So I'm just going to play how I play. And if they don't like it, that's fine. That's totally fine.
And and as he acknowledged, the same thing goes for him. It's good that he says that at the very least.
The right to kick me. They have the right to, like, if it's outnumbered 3 against 1, then I get kicked and I queue up again. But my point is expect.
But again, at the end of the day, like someone said, is that really like worth your time, or is it easier to just temporarily just conform and just finish the dungeon, you know? But it goes for these people too.
Players to warp the way they play to fit your needs is idiotic. Little bald bitch attitude, little bald bitch attitude. So either they help you or they can ignore you and you waste everyone's time. You're basically forcing them to. No, because I can make that argument too. They're wasting my time by watching the cutscene.
It's 30 seconds though. It's 30 seconds. You know?
Clash. They want to do something one way. I want to do something another way. How you resolve that clash depends on the group. They can either kick me, which is fine. Like, I'm not going to hold it personal. Or they can just go in there and do it. If 2 people watching the cutscene, the thing is, it doesn't matter. You're missing the point here. It doesn't matter if I'm outnumbered. What matters?
I think it does. Maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of think it does. I think it does matter. I think that's how majority vote works. Isn't that like the root of democracy? Democracy. Is that like majority vote wins? If 3 out of 4 people want to do the dungeon a certain way and you're the only one that doesn't, majority vote usually would be superior.
Is those players having the mentality that everybody should do that. Like, that is the problem. That's the issue. When there is a system in the game that literally allows you to do that.
But again, we're kind of denying the nuance of, like, if you want to play with a friend or 2, and denying the fact that Zeems can queue with a group of 4 people at any moment of any day. You know?
Play trust though? No, I do play trust, but I couldn't do the trust again because you can only do.
Yeah, his argument's on the principle of not forcing people to play the way that you want to play. It's just kind of a flawed argument on principle when you don't when you're not acknowledging the nuance of the rest of the situation. Like that other stuff is relevant, right? So it's
the trust once, right? Like through the story, you have to like level up your trust, right? Or did they change that? Oh, I could do it. We're going to stop talking about this, man, because some of you in chat are really stupid. Okay, so we're just going to leave with this one. All right. I didn't know they changed it. Okay, so that was my mistake.
Oh, boy. That is not what we want to be looking at.
Now, because I learned that you can do this. If I would have known you can do this, then I wouldn't have ever queued in. I just would have went in with the fucking trust, man. If you want to play your way, then you need to use the trust. That's my point. If you want to play your way and only your way, then you need to use the trust. That's it.
All right.